All this mindless archive pulling, which has become almost an Olympic sport, this insufferable law. He doesn't seem to like. Okay.
Clearly doesn't like Laura.
His fetish for 90s fashion thoughts. I think pulling archival pieces, it's always an honorable thing and it should be there because otherwise, there are beautiful things that have been done that we can wear still today. And it's a beautiful reminder every time. But it shouldn't become a way to, how to say, to pull attention that I'll put that so that people can see that. Of course, I mean, for Zendaya, he did some great looks. We cannot deny that. For a celebrity, like it worked very well for her. But I don't think it's a bad thing to do. It depends for what is the reason you're doing this, and why not? I mean, why not using archival pieces? Why not remembering beautiful? I mean, the thing is also every few months we have new collections, so in the end we forget completely what every brand has done. Like it's
Mm.
impossible. So many beautiful things have been done, and it's almost like for what? Like then you put them in the archive and nobody sees them again. So I think it's a good thing. It depends just how you do it and if you're just doing it for what reason. But other than that, I think we should remember great clothes of other eras as well, right?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think this is an issue with fashion, and this is honestly why current fashion critics, well, not all obviously, but a lot of them really annoy me because like they let designers get away with murder these days. I'll tell you what I mean because it goes back into styling. It's like okay, for example, let's talk about like Tom Ford because I
Mm,
talked about him like 2 days ago. So
yeah.
Tom Ford is heavily inspired by Halston. He said this before.
Yeah.
Right. When was Halston famous? In the 70s and the early 80s, right?
Hmm.
Now, Tom Ford moved to New York as a college student around that time. So he was very inspired by what he was seeing, by the glamour, by the jet set lifestyle. He was going to like places like Studio 54
Yeah.
and like seeing like the nightclub and then like obviously like partying and like just being inspired by everything that was going on there at the time, right?
Yeah.
So when he went to Gucci, his whole idea is how do I recreate that energy? So it's not even just about the clothing, it's about like how can I recreate this jet set lifestyle? How can I recreate the sexiness that I used to see in the club in my own way? How do I
Yeah.
recreate all these things? So there's always like good designers, there's always like a wider reason as to why they do things.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
Exactly.
when you contextualize that to someone like Sabato de Sarno, who the Gucci team is like, oh, let's do Tom Ford. We want to go back to the Tom Ford look. And it's like, there's no glamour, there's no Studio 54 energy, there's no 70s, there's no 70s inspiration, there's no lifestyle. It's just clothing. Of course it's not going to work. Like that should be obvious to someone in elementary school if they had like the context of what I just said. So it's like a lot of times like fashion critics, maybe because they don't have the context of like what I just said, will just be
Hmm.
like, that's nice. And I'm like, no, it's not. That's lazy. That's lazy because a good designer would actually like take it to so many different layers, like what I just said about Tom Ford and like
Yeah.
what he was trying to recreate. It's not just clothing, and you're not just copying something because like Tom Ford would be inspired by Halston, but it's not just the clothing he's referencing. It's the whole period. It's the whole era and what was
Yeah.
going in the era and what he experienced in that era. That's the whole thing that's encapsulated into what he's referencing. So I think once again, when it comes to like stylists and when they
Yeah.
pull archive looks,
Yeah.
the question I always think in my head is like, why are you pulling it?
Yeah.
Are
Yeah.
you are
Okay.
you pulling it because there's like a wider thing? There's like something you're trying to recreate. There's like a bigger story. There's like a
Yeah.
narrative that you're trying to create, or are you pulling this archive piece just because you want to say this is archive John Galliano Dior? Then that's just
Yeah. It's for that.
bad.
Yeah.
I know, and that's why it's bad. That's why it's bad most of the time. But when it isn't, it's good. When there's actually a reason behind it, there's a wider narrative, then it makes sense.
Yeah. But I mean, sometimes it's the piece of clothing itself that can be beautiful that you want to show. Is that, I mean, it's in itself is not bad. It depends again, right?
Once again,
Like,
it depends on
yeah.
like what the whole thing that you're trying to do is. But a lot
Yeah.
of
Yeah. Yeah.
a lot of stylists, which and you would know this, like they when they talk about the clothing, they'll be like, "This is archive John Galliano," and at that point, you know that it's for the wrong reasons because you haven't actually told us You haven't spoken about the clothing itself. What's the significance of the clothing?
Yeah.
Why is it so important that you decided to pull it?
Yes,
Why do you
yes.
think it fits on your client? Like, these are all really important questions that need to be answered, not just, yeah, oh my God, this is amazing. We were able to pull this vintage Halston. It's like, okay.
Yeah. I mean, this is exactly the same as you were saying. We're going to put like exactly the same logic. Like, even if it's for contemporary clothes, it's just the
Yeah.
clothes. I mean, even though the clothes themselves should be the center of the discussion because we're talking about clothes, at the same time, it shouldn't somehow. It should and it shouldn't. Like, because then if it's not about the clothes at all, then we end up with situations like Balenciaga, where it was fantastic as a narrative with Demna. And then you go to the store, accessories are fantastic, and then it's just hoodies and big part of the clothes is not good. Then you have that also on the other, spectrum of this, that the narrative is fantastic. It creates a whole energy around it, but we want to see also great clothes. So I think it should be a balance between the two, you see.
100%.
Yeah.
This YouTube channel runs on your support. If you want to support the channel, you can subscribe to my Patreon. You'll gain access to exclusive content that includes everything from my Patreon podcast, where I give a behind-the-scenes insight into the fashion industry, as well as a fashion book club where I review my favorite fashion books. You can also check out my fashion ebook, which highlights the best fashion journalists to follow, definitions of common fashion terminology, and how to determine what a good source of fashion information is. The links to everything are in the description below.